The fields of West Texas are fertile again, pumping life into a region that has seen more bust in recent years than boom.
West Texas cities are growing at a rate that is nearly impossible to keep up with.
Our growth is just faster than we can handle, and we're all experiencing that.
Housing has become an issue, traffic has become an issue. You go right down the list.
There are elements of a culture war here, too. Every week, this is the scene outside Planned Parenthood of West Texas in downtown Midland.
Let us pray that we may never be silent about abortion, but rather will clearly speak up to save babies from death.
Mostly Catholic and all anti-abortion, they pray the rosary because on Fridays, this particular clinic performs abortions. Mike Bonchbach is an oil consultant, staunch Catholic, and head of Pro-Life Midland.
We want to eradicate Planned Parenthood from Midland, Texas, and every other community, actually. Planned Parenthood thrives on abortion.
Planned Parenthood, which is playing defense in Texas and many other states, argues that abortions account for less than 5% of their services nationwide. Here in Texas, the abortions they provide are financially and legally separated from their family planning clinics and are not funded by tax dollars. But like many local Texas abortion opponents, Bonchbach doesn't buy it. He believes Planned Parenthood is using government funds to prop up its abortion business and is promoting sexual promiscuity in the process.
People who are practicing birth control, they understand that a baby might ensue, but they want the pleasure without the responsibility. So it's against, birth control is really against the natural law.
In the war against abortion in Texas, Planned Parenthood has been the primary target. Reproductive health services, from birth control to STD testing to breast and cervical cancer screenings, have been caught in the crossfire. That's evidenced by the GOP-dominated legislature's decision last year to cut family planning funding for all providers statewide by 66%. Governor Rick Perry has since rejected an additional $35 million in federal women's health program funding because it would require him to let Planned Parenthood benefit.
Is the federal government going to be bullheaded and demand that the state of Texas use Planned Parenthood? And our legislature has spoken.
Inside Planned Parenthood of West Texas, services are separated by a waiting room, abortions on one side, family planning on the other. After 25 years with Planned Parenthood, CEO Karen Piper Hildebrand is used to controversy, but she never thought she'd have to fight this hard just to keep providing legal family planning services.
You know, Planned Parenthood was started with the desire to make birth control legal, and accessible to all people. And that is still what we're about. That's the majority of our business. We are about ensuring that children are born loved and wanted. We want every pregnancy to be a celebration. And when that can't happen, that's really a tragedy.
For decades, Hildebrand says the state has partnered with Planned Parenthood on that mission. But in the 2011 legislative session, she said they were ridiculed by anti-abortion lawmakers and accused of being unable to provide adequate health care to women.
Planned Parenthood and any other organization that performs abortion definitely were targeted. That's the purpose. We feel like that there should be many options available in planning a family, and that abortion shouldn't be the preemptive #1 option when you go to any clinic.
Let's take that money for women's health and give it to those organizations who provide comprehensive primary and preventative care so that women get the kind of care that they deserve, not just a screening and a referral to a primary care physician or to a federally qualified health center.
Last year, as they slashed the state budget, lawmakers implemented a tiered funding system designed to make it difficult for Planned Parenthood to access state dollars. They were convinced that money propped up the abortion side of Planned Parenthood services.
I don't see that the legislature views it as two separate entities. They see that as one entity.
When the new budget took effect in September, Planned Parenthood of West Texas lost $600,000 in state money over the next 2 years. Those funds had supported its 4 family planning clinics in Midland, Odessa, Abilene, and San Angelo, 4 offices that served more than 12,000 Texans in 50 counties. The only other major source of family planning left in Texas is the Medicaid Women's Health Program. Over the last 5 years, this Planned Parenthood clinic and others have actively reached out to enroll very poor women into the program, which has received 90% of its funding from the federal government. From the beginning of the program, Republican lawmakers never wanted abortion providers or clinics affiliated with them to participate, but Texas health officials allowed it, fearing it would be unconstitutional to exclude them. Dozens of Planned Parenthood's family planning clinics participated. In annual reports, Texas health officials conclude the program has prevented thousands of unintended pregnancies, saving the state millions of dollars in Medicaid births. Along the way, it has provided initial STD and cancer screenings and referrals for treatment to more than 100,000 women every year.
It never has provided services related to abortion. You can only bill for certain services and only get reimbursed for certain services.
The reproductive health giant's marketing efforts paid off. By 2010, nearly 46% of WHP's clients were going to a Planned Parenthood clinic in Texas. They became the largest beneficiary of reimbursements, accounting for 44% of all claims, even though they only represented 2% of the entire network of providers. In Planned Parenthood's view, they've earned the trust of women looking for preventive care. Right to Life groups take a different view, that Planned Parenthood isn't fit to receive government subsidies. Governor Rick Perry is on their side.
Texans don't want Planned Parenthood, a known abortion provider, to be involved in this. So we've made that decision, and that should be the state's right.
In late 2011, Texas health officials tried to renew the women's health program. This time, lawmakers ordered the Health and Human Services Commission to enforce the long-ignored rule on banning abortion affiliates from the program. In March 2012, federal Medicaid officials notified the state that funding would be cut off because the state's rule would, quote, restrict freedom of choice for women enrolled in the program. Governor Perry fired back by announcing the state would take over the $35 million a year program, even if he could not guarantee how it would be paid for.
We've got a multi-billion-dollar budget, so we have the ability to be flexible in where money's coming from. So when that decision is finally made and we make it public, then you'll see precisely where it comes from.
As a result of the family planning budget cuts, coupled with fears about the future of the women's health program, more than a dozen reproductive health clinics have closed, including some non-Planned Parenthood clinics. For abortion opponents, clinic closures constitute a win. Planned Parenthood of West Texas saw the writing on the wall. In March, they closed one of their 4 clinics in Odessa.
About 70% of our clients that come here to the Odessa Center do rely on the women's health care program.
Vice President for Medical Affairs Carla Holiva showed the Tribune what was left of the facility they've used since the 1970s, which served 4,000 patients a year and never performed abortions. During our interview, 2 young women came knocking, unaware of the changes.
So we just, in the last 2 weeks, have moved this center over to Midland. So you're going to be able to you're going to have to go to Midland to get your services from us. Let me get you a card that'll give you directions. When 70% of the clients here rely on that source, we knew that this clinic was not going to be financially able to be supported here.
One of those Odessa clients is 24-year-old Renee Resendez, a graduate student at the University of Texas of the Permian Basin.
I've never had health insurance. My parents never had it. We were on and off Medicaid and CHIP the whole time we were growing up. So when we became 18, we didn't qualify for those programs anymore. So we found the women's health care plan. So that's the only kind of insurance we have right now.
Resendez says she learned about the program through Planned Parenthood. When she found out the Odessa clinic was closing, the shy student became an activist. She started an online petition against the effort to remove Planned Parenthood from WHP.
Women go there for their basic health care. They're going there for pregnancy tests, they're going there for cervical cancer screenings, breast checks, birth control. There's no abortion that they would even get there. I feel like the government's taking away my choice to choose who provides my health care. I think I should have that choice, and I think all Texas women should have that choice, no matter what their income is.
Now that her local Planned Parenthood clinic is gone, Resendez says she'd prefer to go to the Midland clinic, but the state is trying to encourage women like her to look for care elsewhere, including community clinics and private doctors.
And the idea that there's not going to be plenty of providers out there is another red herring.
The Health and Human Services Commission has created a website for the new Texas Women's Health Program, which will be operated without federal funds. The idea is to help women locate state-certified providers by punching in their zip code. Indeed, they're not hard to find, but accessing them may be more difficult than officials acknowledge. The Tribune spoke with 2 key providers of women's health services in Midland, Odessa. Michael Austin is CEO of Midland Community Healthcare Services, a federally qualified health center.
We don't provide abortions. I mean, we're kind of out of it as far as that, that whole fight. What bothers me the most is the state is essentially creating a huge public health issue.
Their women's health services represent the ideal providers Perry and lawmakers had in mind when they created a tiered funding system for family planning services.
I believe that the move of people being more responsible and understanding that they have to watch themselves more carefully might lead to a better result, especially if now they can turn to federally qualified health care clinics all across the state. By the way, there's more of them, and they are better staffed and have more different options of planning available than do the specialized abortion clinics.
We can absorb a certain amount, but I do not have the personnel or the doctors or the resources to prop up a sudden influx.
Dr. Moss Hampton is head of the Obstetrics and Gynecology Department at the Texas Tech Health Sciences Center of the Permian Basin.
Could we see some more? Sure, but 4,000, I think it would really tax our physical plant and our human resources probably more than anything.
Though their clinics get first dibs on state funding, that pool of money has been cut down to a third of the size it was during the last biennium. Since September, both Texas Tech and Midland Community have received far less than in years past.
Just family planning, the dedicated funding is essentially gone.
Not only are they getting less, if any, public family planning funds, they're also being asked to take on the 55,000 women's health program clients who've been going to Planned Parenthood.
It's just going to be a strain, and yet this idea that the local docs are going to, swoop in and help take care of it. And if WHP was a big payer, if people were going to make money off of it, those women would already be out and seeing the private guys because they would accept them. They get paid about a third of what they're going to get paid from an insurance company.
Both go so far as to question whether family planning in the nation's fastest growing state can succeed or be as efficient without Planned Parenthood.
They were almost like an HMO for women's services. They have name recognition, they have clinics everywhere. For things like family planning issues and regular health exams, cancer screenings, they're a pretty strong resource. You just can't take a resource like that out of the mix and expect everybody else to absorb it.
The doctors say it's still too soon to understand the ultimate consequences of the 2011 budget cuts to family planning. And again, Perry has pledged he will find funding to keep the women's health program afloat. While some see the Planned Parenthood cuts as a major blow to public health, others consider their current struggle a victory in the name of protecting the unborn. In West Texas, mindsets don't change overnight. In fact, they are sometimes emboldened.
Is a pap smear a healthy thing? Sure. But if Adolf Hitler was running a free dental clinic and on a shared wall was killing Jews and Catholics next door, would I go to Adolf Hitler for a free dental checkup? No. Okay?
So you're equating Planned Parenthood to
Oh, absolutely.
Adolf Hitler.
Absolutely.
In the bigger picture, Midland, Odessa is a boomtown again. That means the demographics are changing quickly. So as the state's war on Planned Parenthood continues, West Texas could lose reproductive health and family planning services at a time when it needs it most. Reporting from Midland, Odessa, this is Ton Tan with the Texas Tribune.